Well, welcome to Capital Region Today. I'm Ann Pearl, your host, and I'm so happy that you're joining us today. We have a great show this week. So much going on in our community. I hope that you are out there enjoying many of the things that are coming up. Our guest today, we're going to be talking about Jazz on Jay, talk about great concert series. Oh my goodness, all through the summer and into September too. And then we're going to be hearing from a performer, Carmen Lookshire, and she brought her guitarist with her, and they're releasing an album, so we're going to be talking about them, and they might even perform for us as well. Then we're going to talk about Final Exit Network, and that is a way to plan that exit that we're all going to make someday, and we'll be learning about that and some of the bills that are coming up that might help us in that transition. We will also be talking with the director of the American Italian Heritage Museum, and they're starting up with their Italian classes, and they have an exhibition coming up, and so much exciting things going on Central Avenue up by the museum there. And then we're going to be talking about the Schoharie River Center. This is their first time on the show. We're going to learn all about what's going on at the Schoharie River Center. And this is where you learn about everything on our show. And I'm so happy that my guests come on and are so willing to talk about it. But we're going to be talking with Tim Coakley first. And with him, she's brought Susan Brink, and they're on the committee for Jazz on Jay. So let's find out where, when, and how. Come on, Tim, tell us.
Well, Jazz on Jay's been going on for quite a while.
I know it.
And our first concert is on Wednesday.
Okay.
And it'll feature Azam Hamid, a wonderful pianist who also does the Jazz Vespers periodically at the First Reformed Church.
Oh, really? Wasn't aware of that.
And he has some music students, some of whom will be joining him on stage.
And we have some photos. Maybe we can run through the photos and then we'll get back to the conversation.
Okay.
Raymond, we'll go through them slow because we'll talk about some of these. Okay. That's a lineup, which
Right.
of course they can find on the website as well. So let's go to the next one. There we go. Now, this is down, of course, Azam, but let's talk about these.
Azam Hamid, a wonderful pianist, as I said, who has a bunch of students that he's going to bring up and have them play and sing during the course of his Jazz on Jay appearance.
Okay.
And that's on June 10th.
Yep.
Okay, and the first one is there September. I'm sorry, we're kind of going through these a little bit.
I see Clear Daily.
Okay, there we are. Now I think we're looking at Azam, right?
Yes, the first one.
Okay, he's the first one there. Okay, and then he's brought students with him, and I believe that's in the next slide that we'll see the students that he brought with him. They're there.
Oh,
And those
yeah,
are his students.
That's going to be great. Yep.
Yeah. So we have a great lineup, first of all, and you're starting out with Azam,
Right.
and then what?
Then we have Quentin Kane. He's a wonderful drummer. He's at the Manhattan School of Music right now, majoring in drums, and he's going to be playing some of his own compositions,
Really?
along with.
I never think about drum compositions.
Well,
I mean,
it's a composition for everybody.
Yeah,
but
no,
he's
I know.
written it. Yeah, and he's played on Jazz on Jay before as part of other people's groups.
Yeah.
That's one of the things you notice about Jazz on
They
Jay.
move in and out.
Yes. So let's see. Shall we go down the
Yeah,
list?
yeah, go ahead. Susan, do you want to kick in here too?
Yeah, Quentin has a wonderful band with him. He's going to have trombonist Joe Giordano and the bassist Tariq Shaw, who played with Betty Carter for a lot of years, and our local guitarist George Muscatello. Did you want to talk about Matt
Yeah.
Steckler?
Matt Steckler is a fine saxophonist. He's been working in New York for a while, but he's now back in the area. He just sent me a stack of his records, so I'm going to be playing.
Oh,
some
you'll
of
be
them
playing. And then
on
you have
my
a radio show too. So
I do, every Saturday night at 11 on WAMC.
Yeah.
So I'll be playing some of his records, and he'll be joining. I'm not sure who he's going to have with him, but he's played with some great musicians, so that'll be a real plus.
The one thing that we have with Jazz on Jay is we have excellent musicians.
This-
I mean, I was involved in this a while
yes.
back, and we would bring forward such great musicians.
One of the things that Phil Allen, a trombonist who moved here from Colorado and formed a big band when he got here, one of the things he said, I don't have to worry if my trumpet player can't make it. I know somebody else I can call. If there's a saxophonist missing, I can get another saxophonist instantly.
Yeah.
The pool of musicians is really great.
Well, and then we have to also remember that when Proctor's brings their big shows in, a lot of times they use some of the
They use
musicians.
musicians from the Schenectady local. That's
Yeah.
right, yeah. Well, Jean O'Connor is going to be singing for us, and she's got some great credentials, and she's got a new gig going.
She does. She's going to be with the very well-regarded jazz vocal group, the Royal Bobsters. They're award-winning, international in scope.
Great to have vocalists on.
Right, right.
And she's a lot of fun. That's July 8th.
And Center Square, that's a group that features some
That's a high
students.
school
A
group.
group of college students and
College,
high school
I'm sorry,
students.
college.
Yeah. Some of them have been playing with the jazz ensemble of Lee Russo over at his high school. And we have a St. Rose graduate and a couple of people who have been who are in college now at Belmont College in Nashville. That's a group call themselves Center Square. I don't know why they call themselves that.
Well, that's a
but
good
we'll-
name.
We'll find out.
It's good.
And bassist Dylan Perillo is next up. He won the Eddie
Eddie
Award last
Award,
year.
wasn't that in 2020?
Yeah, that's right. And he plays music a little bit farther past. He likes old time tunes, and he'll sometimes sing one for you if you ask him,
Oh, cool.
or even if you don't ask him.
It's an awful lot of fun.
Yeah.
He focuses a lot on the American songbook from the 1920s, but all the way back from the 1890s.
But we
to the
need that.
50s,
We need to
and
have a
it-
nice experience of different
All
music.
jazz goes back more than 100 years.
Oh,
So.
of course, of course, of course. And then there's the Dixieland jazz. There's all kinds of jazz. And-
Exactly right,
Yeah.
yeah, which we've had from time to time at Jazz
Yeah.
on Jay. We need to talk about John Leroy. He's an organist, and he's going to have a wonderful guitarist, Mike Novakowski, and drummer Andy Hearn. And that's the kind of combo that you used to hear, the organ, guitar, drums, like Jimmy Smith and Jimmy McGriff and so forth. And John Leroy is carrying on that tradition.
Then we have Michael Benedict in Bopitude.
Oh, he's terrific.
Everybody knows Michael
Everybody,
Benedict.
yeah.
Everybody loves Michael Benedict.
Yeah.
And so he will be there on August 5th. And his group's going to feature David Gleason, Chris Payson on trumpet, Brian Patnode, tenor sax, and Mike
Brian
Lawrence, bass.
Patnode, yeah.
Speaking of Brian Patnode, he's part of the next group called the Dad Ted.
I know, I love that name.
Well, he told me a story about that. Originally, it was led by the trombonist, Mike, oh, goodness gracious, Ben O'Shea. And they called it the Ben O'Shea Quintet, or Sextet. And they were playing somewhere, and at the intermission, this man came up, he was kind of irate. He said, if you're Ben O'Shea Quintet, how come you're not playing any Irish songs? So
Okay.
so they decided that since three of them had recently become fathers, that they would call themselves
Dad
the
Ted.
Dad Ted.
I love
And
it.
that's,
I love it.
that's
I
the
love
group
it.
that we'll be hearing.
So Ben O'Shea wasn't playing any Irish.
Apparently not. No,
Ditties.
they were swinging.
That's funny.
Henry Fernandez comes up next. Fine saxophonist. We've heard him before on Jazz on Jay, and
Okay.
he recently completed his degree at Oberlin, and he's bringing guitarist Luke Franco, Tariq Shah once more on bass, and Quentin Kane back on drums. And they'll be doing a mixture of standards and some of their own compositions.
Claire Daly will be here with the quartet on August 26th. And Claire is a Barry saxophonist, and she has won Jazz Times, the Jazz Journalist Association Award, downbeat many, many times. She'll have Wayne Hawkins on piano, Mike Benedict on drums, and Pete Toigo on bass.
Great lineup.
She's amazing, and she tours all over the world. We're very lucky to have her. And she's been here locally. She's been at the Egg, and she's been at the GE Theater here with Tribeca Stan.
See, I mean, we're not bringing in just casual players. We're bringing in the people that are really top-notch.
Oh, absolutely.
It is top-notch, but the Capital Region supports top-notch musicians. That's who we have here.
We're amazing.
We are amazing. We
I've
are
heard that
amazing.
from musicians that say, this is rich, this area is rich in music.
And not just in the musicians, but also in the audiences.
Yeah.
Our audiences are close, they are knowledgeable, and
Appreciative.
appreciative. You know, you don't have to know a lot about jazz, you just have to be willing to listen.
Yeah,
That's all
and
you
it's
need to
not,
do.
it's not all, I mean, like Dixieland jazz. This is jazz in a
Covers the
different format.
spectrum, yes.
Now, this is going to be held at Johnny's, right?
Right.
I mean, not in Johnny's, but at
On
Johnny's.
the deck, yeah.
And that way we'll have them, are they going to be in the balcony? And that is it?
No, they'll be right on the, I guess I
The
call
patio.
it the deck. Or
The patio.
Yes, and then the people can bring their own chairs and sit on J Street or out and on the Street area.
Exactly.
In front of them, yeah. It's been a good place for
And
the
then
last few
we also
years.
have a farmer's market that same day, don't we? Or do we?
Up in front of the.
Up City
I think
Hall.
so,
City
yeah.
Hall. So it's really nice to go shopping at City Hall and walk over. And last year, everything pretty much was closed, but we were able to continue. We had Jazz on Jay, and people were able to socially distance
know.
and sit and dance and enjoy themselves.
And even through the
support-
pandemic. So,
Yes.
listen, I think that we've got it lined up. We want to tell people it's always on Thursday, and it's from noon to 1:30. Is
That's
that correct?
correct, yep.
So we've got a great lineup coming, and just get out there and enjoy that great music. Susan, thank you so much for being here and telling us a little bit more about what's going on with Jazz on Jay. And I'll finish up here with Tim. And so, Tim, you've been working on this for a while. You're working with the Musicians Union, as well as
Right.
once in a while you bring in another, high school group or something like
Oh,
that.
sure. And I was talking to Susan before. Jazz on Jay first began in the evening, many years ago in the 1980s, because at that time, on Thursday night, the stores were open.
Uh-huh.
And we had bands out there on Thursday nights from 7 to 9. And then once they paved it and made it, or when they had made it a pedestrian mall, and then later on, they decided to do it during the daytime.
Yeah.
Thursdays at noon, so.
Yeah. So it's really great to have that event coming up. And I think we have Carmen coming up next to talk about, she's just releasing an album. So we're going to learn a little bit more about what she's doing. Hi, Carmen. Good to see you. Thank you so much, Tim, for being here today. Carmen, I love your music, and through the pandemic,
you.
you've been performing a little bit on YouTube and on Facebook. And I enjoy your music very much. And with you, you brought your guitarist who is
Yes.
going to be performing. Now, you have an album that you just released? Is
Yes,
that-
it was actually released during the pandemic, so we want to still get it out there, even though it was a year ago. We released it Valentine's Day last year, 2020. So
Yes,
it's an
and it's
EP,
called For Love?
For Love.
Yeah.
Yes. So it has 5 songs on it. Really great jazz, soul stuff. That a few of the songs that we actually wrote ourselves.
Oh, so you're both, and I know that, come join us, Joe.
Come on, Joe.
And Joe Carrick is with us, and you're both songwriters, is that it? Wow.
So actually, the first song that we'll perform today is called Helpless, or Hopelessly in Love, and Joe wrote that. We actually met at Eden Cafe in Loudonville.
Oh, and I've been there, that's a great venue,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Really such a great venue for music.
So it actually turned out well because Joe was doing a happy hour there every Thursday called Life's Guilty Pleasures. And so when we got together, we just kind of merged the names together.
Okay,
That's how this
good. So,
originated
do you want to perform right now? Yeah.
We'll take a little bit. We just want to talk about what's coming up and,
Okay.
just talk about the album a little bit.
Okay.
Because we're going to do a couple songs, and that's what we'll
Okay,
end with
good.
today. But, yeah, so
So where can they get the album?
the album is available. I actually brought you a copy today.
Oh,
It's
thank
a
you.
physical copy.
Thank
We-
you.
We went old school. Oh,
that's okay.
I'm an old soul. so-
Wonderful.
Yeah, we did physical copies.
I
and-
love the photos,
Thank
because
you.
we put them up on the screen there, but I love both photos that you had. They
It's
just
available-
look so like, I want to join you.
Right? It's available on my website, carmenthesinger.com. And actually, the picture was taken by Mike Panzerino.
Yeah, I
and
saw that
that's-
his credits were on the photo.
And that's at the Berlin intro.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's all local, you know.
Yeah, I can't wait to listen to it all. But I know that through the pandemic, I've been listening to when you perform a little bit in the backyard or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, right.
So it's always fun to listen to you.
Yeah, during the pandemic, I was keeping up, trying to, stay relevant as a musician.
Well,
so-
yeah, and you want to keep everything kind of moving along,
Yeah.
That I didn't go away, I'm still
I know.
here,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, we wrote a lot of songs during that time.
Okay,
Probably
so
over
let's
20.
let's hear your first one.
Sure.
What is it?
This is Helpless, and we're both going to sing on this one.
Okay. And we have overhead mics, so we'll pick you up.
I feel helpless when you're not around. It's like music that doesn't make a sound. It's like mountains without trees, birds without the bees. I'm helpless and hopelessly in love.
I miss your kisses, oh, and your gentle touch. When I'm around you, I get, oh, such a rush. It's like the mountains without trees, birds without the bees. I'm helpless and hopelessly in love.
Why do I try to make it on my own. With you by my side, I know I can't go wrong.
It's like the mountains without trees, birds without the bees.
I'm helpless and hopelessly in love.
I'm so lonesome without the scent of your perfume. My life is boring, oh, without you lying in my room. It's the things you do each day, they make me want to say I'm just helpless
And hopelessly in love. Why do I try to make it on my own? With you by my side, I know I can't go wrong.
It's the things you do each day, they make me want to say I'm just helpless
And hopelessly in love.
Ba-da-doo-doo, 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 ba. It's the mountains without trees, birds without the bees. I'm helpless.
And hopelessly in love. I'm so lonesome, lying here alone. Life is boring without the scent of your cologne. It's like mountains without trees, birds without the bees. I'm helpless and hopelessly in love. Why do I try to make it on my own? With you by my side, I know I can't go wrong.
Like the mountains without trees, birds without the bees.
I'm helpless and hopelessly in love.
That's amazing. That is an amazing song. It's like, this sounds like a standard. I mean, it's something that's been around for 50 years.
Yeah,
It's
Joe
so.
started that song. He was writing that song, and I came in, and we just kind of blended it together.
Now, what I want to know is who, I mean, I'm hearing you perform, and I'm hearing you perform. Now, who wrote the lyrics and who wrote the music? Or did you do it all, Joe?
That one was Joe's song.
Pretty much all mine.
You did it all? Oh, you are an amazing man. No, really, that is a wonderful, wonderful song. It should be a standard, you know, you're going to hear them everywhere. You know, it's one of those songs that
Thank you.
it's just perfect. It's a perfect song.
Oh, thank you.
No, it really is. I
Yeah,
really
if people
enjoy
want to
it.
listen to it, we have it streaming online,
It is on
too.
here, too.
Spotify and Apple Music, all those streaming sites,
Yeah.
but also physical copies.
Yeah, and you got time for one more?
Sure.
Yeah.
So
Well,
this next song is called Ruby Red, and everywhere we go, men come up to Joe and they're like, "This guitar is so beautiful. What is it?" You know, they want
Oh,
to
and it's
know
Ruby
what
Red.
Yeah, so
The name
that's
of
her
my
name.
guitar is Ruby.
That's her
Okay.
name.
I named her. I named my guitar.
Well, why
So
not?
this song is a metaphor for Miss Ruby.
Okay.
These ruby red lips and high-heeled shoes, see you staring from across the room. You start to make your way over to me, and as they say, the rest is history. Smoky bar, he's taking draws on his cigar, machinacious moves, someone singing the blues. Fitted dress, matching pearl necklace, she's a sight to see, and the fellas call her Ruby. She's a lady with the girlish physique, and she's likely to walk out. I'm sure that she'll walk with the last guy she meets. Never fall for a musician, you're always told, but when you get lonely, honey, who will you have to hold? She's a lady with the girlish physique, and she's likely to walk out. I'm sure that she'll walk with the last guy she meets. These ruby red lips and high-heeled shoes, see you staring from across the room. You start to make your way over to me, and as they say, the rest is history. She's a lady with the girlish physique, sky.
That's another one. That is another one. That's a keeper. That's really good. And now you did both the lyrics and
We
That
wrote
one,
that together.
yeah, I
did that
did lyrics
together.
and then he did.
you did a little scat in there too.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
I
my
wanted
goodness,
to
you
throw
don't
in
hear
that
that
jazz.
too much.
I know, right?
And I loved it. It fit
thank you.
perfect. Yeah, you and Ella Fitzgerald.
Right, a little bit of Ella in there.
Yeah, so how can they get the album?
So
Because we want to give you a big plug because you're doing such wonderful.
thanks so much.
Your music is just wonderful. I can't express it more than that.
Yeah,
It's
you
just
can-
wonderful.
People can buy a copy at my website. They can also find out about upcoming events that we're doing.
And where are you appearing next?
And that July 10th will be at Scotia Freedom Park.
I know it. That nice
CarmenTheSinger.com.
venue that's going to be.
Yeah, CarmenTheSinger.com. All that information is there.
Yeah,
We're
and so
excited.
you perform together a lot now. Now that
Oh,
you've
yeah.
met, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Joe is
Friday.
finally doing what he wants to do.
Friday, we're doing
Dutch Apple, yep.
Cruise,
So
we'll
lots
be
of
on
things
that
going on.
boat.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
You guys are great. You really are. I really enjoy.
And we're doing Schenectady Green Market day after Scotia.
There
so
you go.
July 11th.
Yeah, get out there and let people know what great
Oh,
music you have. I love your music. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Well, maybe
I
Jazz
love
on
it.
Jay. We'll talk to them.
I love the music, but I want to thank you for being here too. And I don't know, who am I letting go first? I guess Carmen, I have to let you go
All right,
first.
thank you
But
so much,
anyway,
Ann. Appreciate
yeah,
it
thank
so
you
much.
so much for being here. I applaud you. Your music is wonderful. Your voice is wonderful. And I love the scat in there too. Good, thank you so much. And I'm going to go back to you, Joe, just for a minute. So how long have you been playing?
Since I'm about 11 or 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a long time, yeah.
In and out.
Yeah, in and
Stopping
out.
for a couple years.
But you're having a
back
good
then.
time doing it,
I
right?
love it. I'm
Yeah.
having a great time with it.
Good.
Meeting Carmen and playing
I
with
mean,
her now
it
is-
opened a whole new world for you.
It has.
Now you got a
Yeah.
collaborative there
It's
going.
got- yes,
Yeah,
yes, it
great.
has.
Thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure to meet you and hear your music, which is
Okay.
so talented. I love it.
Thank
We're
you
going to
very
take, we're going to go right to our next guest
Okay.
here, Eleanor. So good to have you here. Eleanor Ehrenstein has been on the show here before, but we're talking about the Final Exit Network, and it has to do with making your own choice on how you want to exit, in a sense.
Precisely.
And many states do have that option as far as, making that choice, and some don't.
Right. So I really work very closely with two organizations. In New York State, I work with Compassion and Choices New York. I'd like to give you this sheet.
Sure.
So that you can do
Yeah.
some activism.
Absolutely.
But Compassion and Choices New York is working right now to get a bill out of committee. It would be a death with dignity bill, similar to bills that exist now in 10 other states and the District of Columbia, which means that 22% of Americans now have the right to access physician aid in dying, which means at the end of the life of their
And
lives.
there's certain requirements, in other words, 6 months, and I mean,
Right.
and they have to be of sound mind and everything.
Right, so if a person is diagnosed by two physicians as having 6 months or less to live, and that person faces a bad outcome, cancer is the most common diagnosis that puts people in this position, that person can then access medication which he or she must self-ingest, or not. Most people who access the right do not actually use it, but having the medicine gives them the comfort of knowing that if the pain becomes too bad,
Right.
they can eliminate the suffering. And I'd like to talk about the other organization I represent, Final Exit. Compassion and Choices works for the legalization of the right to die. Final Exit is an organization that is available for people to access in any states which do not have legislation. And what Final Access stands for is that you have a right to determine how you final exit, how you
Exactly.
exit. And they have an intake process, they have counselors, and they provide information. We still have freedom of speech in this country.
Thank goodness.
Thank
Yeah.
goodness, right. And so people can receive information which would enable them to take actions to end their suffering should it become unbearable.
Right, yeah. See, I had a friend, a very dear friend, who lived in Canada, and he called me the night before. He was in a hospital, and he called me the night before he exited, and we had a long chat, but it was terminal. He wasn't going to make it. So it was very important, I think, for me to understand what he went through, and I applauded his decision because he knew that he couldn't continue.
Right. Well, what prompted me to become interested in this was that in 1972, my mother died. She had cancer, and it was an 11-month horror story. She really suffered terribly for 11 months. And I was helpless. In 1972, the vocabulary to deal with death really didn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, even though we're all going to face it, nobody wanted to talk about it, right?
Right.
It's like people don't make out their will because if they do, they're going to die.
Precisely. And then 20 years later, our beloved family dog was in dire straits, and when I took her to the vet and the vet administered a barbiturate and my dog slipped away in my arms, it really was at that moment I thought, people should have the right to die like a dog, and that sounds terribly
No, I know what you're
irreverent.
saying. I know what you're saying.
But if you love your family pets, you don't let them suffer. And if you love yourself or your family members, you work to minimize their suffering.
But the person makes their own decision. No one makes it for them. See, that's the
absolutely.
important thing. I think that what people are thinking is, well, we can't do that because then they're going to do your great uncle in because you're going to want his money, and it doesn't work that way.
No, and there are so many protections built into this legislation. It really is a person making a decision for himself or herself. And for people who are of a mind to push this legislation in New York State out of committee, in the Assembly, it is A4321.
Okay.
And if you go to Compassion and Choice's website, on Compassion and Choice's website is a link of direct access to the New York State Assembly, and you just click on the name of the various Assembly people, and you can send them an email in support of this legislation. Also on Compassion and Choice's website are resources for people getting the conversation started, documents that you should look at to help you formulate your own wishes, how to talk to a person who might be in your family and opposed to dealing this. So there are really good resources. On the website for Final Exit, there are also very good resources, and then there is more direct help. You contact Final Exit, they do an intake process, they provide counselors. This is not capricious. This is very, very much based on
It's a serious thing, and
need.
and you don't realize it until you see a loved one go. I mean, it's very easy to just unilaterally, dismiss this. But the point is, until you really live with someone or see someone who is suffering terribly, then it kind of hits home.
Right.
Like it did with your mother and your dog. I mean, and I had a
Precisely.
cat, the same thing. I held it while it was being euthanized, and the cat, I feel as though it was a transition, that the cat wasn't frightened or anything, yeah.
Right, and it's interesting to note that in New York State, 54% of physicians were in favor of this, and then when the bill was written and they read the bill, that number rose
went
to
up.
67%.
Yeah.
So 2/3 of physicians in New York State believe New Yorkers should have the same right that people in Vermont, Maine,
Oregon,
New Jersey, the entire West Coast, California, Oregon, the state of Washington, Montana, Colorado, New Mexico. So 1 out of 5 Americans now has this legal right. It's time for New York.
Exactly. What I like about what you do, Eleanor, is that you also encourage people to make out their power of attorney or the health proxy. So you try and educate people to
Precisely.
to prepare. And it's so easy, and I know my father was that way. It was like, oh, I'm not going to die. He kept saying that. And I said, Dad, I think maybe you might be wrong on this one, because everybody goes. But he always felt like if he really did anything, then it would give him, he was going to die.
Right.
And I think that's kind of I saw it in my own family, so I can say that I saw that,
Right, right. And so the documents you mention are really very, very easy to fill out. A healthcare power of attorney is simply a piece of paper that says, if I'm unable to speak for myself,
Exactly.
this is the person who will speak for me. And you make sure it's a person who understands what you want.
What you want.
And you spell that out in the other document, which is your living will.
Right.
And that says, yes, I want CPR.
Yeah, I don't want
no,
DNR,
I don't want
yeah.
CPR. And it's very, very specific.
And I think it's important that I know that it's tough to look at that and to face it. It's like when I had to go make out my will, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is really final. I'm doing a will, saying what I want to have done. And I think it's the same thing here, that we want to just keep on going because we think that, life is good and we're doing okay, but there comes a point when it may not be good and it may not be okay.
Right, and you said that so well. There comes a point when if life is no longer good and if it becomes really bad and it's not worth living, do you want to linger and suffer? And I would say that you really need these documents in place. If you are married and compatible, it's your spouse. If you want a second healthcare power of attorney, maybe a child or a very trusted friend. But you should have at least 2 people lined up to be your spokesperson when you can't speak.
Yeah.
And maybe,
So a healthcare proxy, you can have 2 people?
oh, sure, you can have a primary and a secondary.
Okay.
I actually have 3. I have my husband, I have my oldest son, and then I have a very good friend who happens to be a nurse. And she's a very assertive person. The reason I have 3 is that sometimes my husband and my son and I are in a car together. And if there should be an accident and we should all be incapacitated.
You're right.
I want really to have somebody there who can say, no, she doesn't want that, go away. And so I really am very proactive.
That's
in
really,
this
that's
field.
interesting because I'm not sure. I have to look at mine because I'm not sure that I probably do. I have 2 daughters, so I probably did put them both down because I figured they can duke it out.
Well, you better make sure your daughters agree.
Yeah,
That's also very important.
yeah. Well, that's a good point. But if you put your own directive down, then they have to abide by that.
Well,
don't
yes, but there have been cases, for example, my closest girlfriend from high school days had 2 siblings, and one of her siblings had a stroke and went into the hospital, and my girlfriend and her brother could not agree. The sibling was put on a respirator, and Mary called me because she knows what I do, and I said, get her off that respirator. If she's
She
had
doesn't
a
wanna be
massive
there.
stroke, she's really not going to have much quality of life. The brother said, no, we're going to do everything necessary to keep Gemma
Okay,
alive.
so
And
even though she had a directive.
She didn't have any
Oh, she did
directives.
have any. Oh, that
So
was
her
it.
2 siblings were arguing for 3 weeks, and when finally the brother acceded to removing the sister from the respirator, she died within 5 minutes. Now, nobody knows what her consciousness was while she was on the respirator. Was she aware? Was she suffering? Or was she hopefully oblivious?
Yeah.
So the documents really protect you from a
Well,
nightmare
you
scenario.
said it just absolutely perfectly, Eleanor. I appreciate that you're here today, first of all, to talk about the bill that's coming up and that we're in how to get there, to go to the websites that we've had up on the
Right.
screen and to check that out and to make sure you get your living will and get your health care proxy done. I don't care who you are, get one done. right?
Absolutely.
Good. Thank you so much for
You're
being here
very
today.
welcome.
Always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Now we're going to go over to my friend, Philip. How are you today?
Oh, wonderful to see you.
Yes, it's good to see you, and I see you're starting up again over at the American Italian Heritage Museum.
We were going right through the COVID.
I know you were, I
yeah,
know.
But we're free at last.
Free at last, free at
Free
last.
at
Oh,
last.
Lord, we're free at last.
It's just great to be out and planning for a bright future and seeing the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, yeah. And you're having some Italian classes in person now.
Yes.
You're planning them in
We're
June.
planning in September, and we're starting our practice Italian classes this month, in
Yeah.
June. We're going to offer some new classes as well. So we're ready to go.
And what about your thrift store? Has it been open or what?
Boy, that has been really a great. We lost 75% of our income during COVID, so
Who didn't? I mean, it was terrible.
fundraising for nonprofits was really tough.
Yeah,
So our thrift shop has really been a great asset. And then we had an appeal, which was very well
you had your annual
supported.
appeal, and then you had another appeal too,
So
yeah.
that was very successful.
And now your membership, I know that when I look at sometimes in your newsletter, which is wonderful, I love
Thank
your
you very
newsletter.
much. I'm so
I love it.
appreciative
I
of
mean,
that.
I read it from cover to cover, and I learn stuff. That's the amazing thing, I learn stuff.
You never stop learning.
I know. But when I look at that, I see people from all over the country are joining. Tell
South
me.
Dakota, we got a member not long ago. Imagine that. We're now up to about 35 states. At one time, we almost had 48.
Okay.
So
There's
we're-
50 of them, so we got to get them all.
So it's just great, but people are not traveling yet, and we got a lot of members from people who came to our area, and I think that people are starting to travel. You saw the statistics this weekend, how many people
We're traveling
were
for the holiday
traveling,
weekend, yeah.
We've had visitors to the museum from every state, even Hawaii and Alaska, and we've had people from 31 different countries.
Really?
31. This area brings in a lot of foreign visitors, you know,
Yeah.
because of the state capital and because of our
And
colleges.
you're a draw.
Yeah.
And you have a lovely museum. And I love the mural that you have with the tree of,
Donor recognition tree.
yeah, which is amazing.
Yeah, during the appeal, we got about 11 people who put their names for a loved
Really?
one on the. We're going to be running out of room.
Well, you'll have to, the tree's going to grow up into the second level there, you know?
Well, we have the second floor,
Yeah.
as you know, and
You have a library in the back, and then you
Yeah.
have the lecture hall.
Yep, and also we have an art gallery there and a reception area and a chapel and a kitchen, so that's our Italian Cultural Center. But this is our 25th birthday of our museum.
Yeah.
We were in Utica for 13 years and in Albany for 12, so
Yeah,
this is a biggie.
you've been, and you're the founder, so you really have been working very hard at this. And I know that you had an exhibition, what is it, the caged bird?
Yeah, it's a very
And
modern.
Stefano Gaida is going to be on the show, and
Yes.
he's actually going to be doing a painting while he's
Wow,
on, yeah.
He's
So
a
that's
young
coming up.
fellow, and we give a lot of young artists an opportunity. I want to say, Ann, that our volunteers are just fantastic. I estimate about $100,000 of labor is being
Oh, yeah.
donated every year. These nonprofits with volunteers make a big, big, big difference. And all the donors across the country have made it possible for this museum to be able to celebrate its 25th birthday.
Yeah, yeah, and you have, you have a campus.
Yes, three
I mean,
buildings. Mm-hmm.
3 buildings, so, there's a lot going on, and I'm sure that if somebody wanted to rent part of it, they could do that, and well, who knows, somebody wants to get married there, who knows?
Well, we have a beautiful lawn. In May, we had a program on the lawn, with
Yeah.
a fire pit.
Yeah.
And there's 1 million cars that go past our building, 1 million in a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah,
So it's a great location, and there's even a bus stop right in front of the museum, so if you don't,
and you're gonna have an outdoor event coming up as well.
yes, we're going to have a pizza party in June.
Okay.
The point is getting
Who
people
makes the
out.
pizza? That's what I wanna know. And is it Sicilian or what? Because I
No,
love the Sicilian
It's
pizza.
both. I love Sicilian
Yeah.
too, but it's both. And Yeah, the idea is I'm trying to get people out. I mean, there's a lot of, some people still reluctant.
Well, you can understand. I mean, and as long as we're all, and everybody that's been on the show today has had the double
Vaccine.
vaccination.
And
So
that-
I feel comfortable doing
Yeah.
this way.
Well, that's the whole purpose of our getting the vaccine, that we're freer now to live our lives.
Exactly.
And at our age, we haven't got much time left, so we want to use it all.
We
up.
just keep moving with it, right? That's the way I look at
We
it.
don't want to lose any time,
No,
you know?
absolutely not.
But the idea is to remain vibrant. All nonprofits now need to get out and need to start, getting people involved and starting to do things.
Whether it's the arts or it's theater, I mean, the last show I did, we were talking about arts and we're talking about theater and they're trying to, and we had proctors on talking about opening up their, the Broadway shows. I mean, we're missing so much in our lives, of the arts and by arts, I mean everything, music. I mean, like we just heard music here
Right.
and we talked about Jazz on Jay. These are the things that keep us alive. It's not going to work every day.
No.
I'm not that work is bad, but I'm just saying we need that
It
something
helps
else.
fulfill our lives. We have an art show now with the Schenectady Art Society is having an art show at the museum.
Good.
And we're very much a part of the community, but it's not a local museum. It's a museum that really honors the Italian immigrants
Yep,
all over the country.
yeah.
And we have some really new things coming up, which are going to be exciting. And I brought a newsletter in.
I
and
know, I love those
It
newsletters.
comes out.
This is not just a newsletter, this is an epistle.
Well,
Or a
I want to
missive.
tell you, I spent a lot of time.
I know you
on
do.
the-
I can tell.
Yeah. And the idea is that as an educator, I always believe that you never stop learning.
Right.
If only everyone would realize that there's so much to know. And the older I get, the more I know I don't know. So I think this is something to think about, that there's still much more for us to know.
Absolutely. Well, I would like to encourage people to go over to the museum and check out their wonderful exhibitions that they have. They're a friendly group, I can tell you that.
Yes, we are.
So go for their pizza party or go when they have their bake sales, and that's usually around Easter or something like that. But there's always something. They have cooking classes. I don't know if Dolores
Yes.
is still doing it, but cooking classes, Italian classes. Just get out there and learn about another culture and have fun. Oh, my goodness. But I want to thank you so much for being here and telling our viewers about.
And it's so good to see you again.
So good to see you, too. Let's see you at the museum next time.
Look forward to it.
I'll be there.
Take care.
Good. We're going to switch over and talk about a place that I'm not familiar with, the Schoharie River Center. Tell me about this, John.
Well, the Schoharie River Center was formed in 1999. We're a environmental education and cultural arts organization. We work with youth to get them involved in learning about their local ecology, and we do that by getting them involved in actually doing research with us.
So they actually get hands-on.
They go out into streams and rivers with us. They learn how to conduct water quality monitoring research. They learn how to do the same tests that New York State DEC does. We follow EPA protocols.
So you're an educational center,
We're an educational program. The idea is...
and you're located?
We're located in Burtonsville, New York, which is on the Schoharie Creek. It's right at the nexus of Schenectady County, Schoharie County, and Montgomery County. It's a 20-minute drive from Schenectady, so it's very close, and it's a beautiful area. So we
And then
have...
do you have a facility there, a
We have a-
building and everything?
We have a facility, we have...
I've got to get out there and check it
You should come
out.
check us out. We have a 20-acre nature preserve with trails that'll take you right down on to the Schoharie Creek. We have a environmental education center there also with a full laboratory.
With a full laboratory?
We have microscopes.
So do you
we
do
work
like, what kind of testing do you do? I mean, are you looking for algae? Are you looking for bacteria? What are you looking for?
We get the students involved in learning how to do water chemistry testing. They also collect macro invertebrates, which are the bugs that live in the water also, because they tell us about water quality also. They also conduct bacterial testing with us. So they're learning how to take different types of data, water chemistry, macroinvertebrate, and bacterial data, and be able to use that to understand what is happening in that body of water.
Now, you're on the Schoharie
We're on the
River.
Schoharie, and we use the Schoharie Creek as our,
Well, I mean, it says
classroom.
Schoharie River. Is it a Schoharie Creek or a river?
that's a good question.
It is, because
Words
I don't know.
Words are important, and up until about the 1920s, it was, the Schoharie was referred to as
The creek.
Schoharie River.
River, okay.
And shortly after the Gilboa Dam was
yeah,
built,
yeah.
in order to divert water to New York, somehow that name kind of changed. And it became.
Because I've heard it both ways,
It's the
so I'm
Schoharie
not,
Creek.
you know.
And it really is not a creek. There is no real definition of what constitutes a river.
I think a creek is
versus
like this and a
creek.
river's like,
A creek, you think you can walk across or you can jump across. A river, you have to swim across. And on the Schoharie, you have to swim across it.
so that we already have the
We
different
We
definition.
have the definition. The
Now,
issue,
what
though-
what kind of fish, now, because you got a fishing event coming up.
Yes, we do. June 12th, we're going to be doing a open house at our facility, and we're also going to be having crafts people come in who are connected to the tradition and arts of casting and
Fly fishing? Yeah.
fly fishing. So we're going to be having, folks can come and bring their fishing pole, but they're also going to be learning about how to make bamboo fly rods.
Oh,
We have a-
really?
We have a excellent teacher, Doug Moody, who is a
I can't imagine making my own. I mean, I've
It's-
had a
it's-
fishing rod, and I can't imagine putting that, you know, the
He
spin
does.
around and everything else.
he does beautiful, beautiful work, and they're expensive when they're done.
I would imagine.
We're also going to be doing,
Are you doing fly fishing? You're going to teach how to make flies?
They're
Because
gonna
I've
be doing
made
fly-
flies, and
they're gonna be doing
they're
fly
tough
tying.
to make.
we're going to also be, we have artist who weaves out of ash the creels, the little baskets that are the.
Oh, yeah,
connected
to put
baskets that
to
you
put
wear
your
on-
fish in and stuff,
You
yeah.
can put your catch in.
Yeah.
And then we're also having a taxidermist come, and he's going to be showing his art of.
Oh, they
how
don't
he
stuff
stuff the
fish, do they? Oh,
Oh,
right.
sure.
Those are the ones where you have the marlin up over your fish.
Exactly, or the prize trout or walleye. And then we have a gentleman who makes hand-carved lures, that he carves the lures, and then he paints
So
them.
you're talking about the lures that you
The
do?
lures
Yeah,
are
yeah, they're
the-
wooden, they look like a little fish or
and they have
something
hooks
or
on it,
other,
right.
yeah.
And then what we
Are
also.
those the bobbers? No, the bobbers
No.
are different.
The bobbers are what float on top.
They're actually
and when
bobs,
they
yeah.
Go down, then you've got.
So you know that the fish is
Right.
there, got the lure.
Right, and so that's going to be a lot of fun. We also will be having demonstrations of the kind of research that we do. We'll have youth there who will be demonstrating their skills. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and I just.
Well,
hope
I
the
mean,
folks
if you
come.
like fishing, it seems to me this would be a great place to go
Mm-hmm.
to learn a little bit more. I mean, like, I wouldn't even have a clue on how to build a fishing rod, and yet, you know, I mean, I've seen them, you gotta put the eyes in and you gotta run the thing. I mean, it's like, who does that?
It's an art, and for folks who are really to fly fishing, it is something that, these kinds of rods are highly sought after.
Yeah,
for-
yeah. I've done
for-
fly fishing, and it's like, you gotta get that rhythm going to get that
It's a-
thing to go out there and just spin it out there, yeah. It's an exciting, I like fly fishing, except that you got to be in the water a lot of times when you're,
Well, that's
with
okay,
waders
too.
and
Right,
stuff.
That's right, yeah. So we're, that's June 12th, and then we're also doing other programming too. So during July and August, we'll be doing youth programming. We have a week-long archaeology program happening in Middleburg. We have a site that we'll be excavating there. That's a program that we've been doing for many years at different locations. The thing about our programs is that we work with youth, but we will, in addition to having them come to us, we also go
Oh, you have an
to
outreach
them.
program.
So we are doing water quality monitoring with youth in Schenectady. We have
Oh, really?
Urban environmental science program here. We have about 30 youth from Schenectady who are involved with us here. They come out, they see what the streams look like out by us, and then we come in and we help them to monitor the Mohawk River here, the Vale Park streams, the Hans Groot's Kill, the All Paws Kill, Woodlawn Preserve,
Yeah.
because we feel that it's important that youth and that adults get involved in really looking at what are the conditions in their own local communities.
Yeah.
Our students learn how to do scientifically valid research, and that helps them with looking at potential career paths.
And, that's what I was just going to say. It
So-
may tickle them into doing something
It
that they
does.
hadn't thought about. I live on the Leishikill Creek,
Oh.
and I have beavers. I have a beaver dam right out my window. I can see the beaver dam. So I appreciate the creeks, and they used to come years ago, and they don't do it now, but they used to come and put trout in, the
Stock it.
fingerlings, yeah. And that was always exciting to see them come in and dump them all in the creek. I'll tell you, just watching the beavers work is an amazing, and we have a few otters that kind of, or muskrats, maybe
Muskrats,
muskrats, I'm
okay.
sorry, that come around, and you see them, running around. It's like, when people think about water, you think about a lake or something, but there's so much more in creeks and in the local environments that are so enriching.
That's right, and the Schoharie Creek River runs into the Mohawks, so the same water that is going by my house is also going by yours.
Yeah.
Because it eventually all flows.
It all feeds in. I
to one
believe
place.
that the Leishikill Creek feeds into the Mohawk, as best as I can remember. And it used to be navigable, but believe me, with these beaver dams, it isn't very navigable unless you want a portage, your canoe or something. Do you do anything on water safety, or just mainly educational with environmentally educational,
Well-
or do you do anything on water safety?
Well, again, we are very careful to have the students learn the proper techniques for both data collection and then also in terms of how to be safe. In water, you have to be very, very careful because conditions can change
Very rapidly.
very, very quickly, right. So you have to, so we work with them on how to enter water carefully, how to, if you are going to be in water that's over your head, you always wear life jackets.
Right.
Because you never know.
You never know.
And
And
again,
even if you're a good swimmer.
even if you're a good swimmer, it does
Yeah.
not matter. You
No, it
can
doesn't
fall
make
and-
any
and
difference.
get
I
knocked out.
lost a cousin, and he was an excellent swimmer, so.
That's right. So, our programs also work with adults too. And in addition to doing the ecology programming, we also focus on different traditional arts programming. All of our programs are experiential, hands-on based. So what does that mean? We have a timber frame building program where we're teaching adults and youth how to go out and to make traditional timber frame buildings. Now, a timber frame building is built with no nails. You are actually cutting and carving mortise.
Oh,
and
yeah, where
tenon
they
and
fit
wooden
into each
pegs.
other, okay.
And so, and it's an art, It's a building tradition that is rather lost now, but out where we live, most of the buildings were built in that way.
Well, even the logs, they would do it with logs. I mean, when you
Right.
think back, that when they moved across the country from the east out to the west, and they were building their log cabins, they weren't carrying a pail of nails with them.
No, they had a saw,
They had to
chisels.
figure out how to mortise this so that you could actually, have it solid.
So we are teaching timber framing by actually having people come
Yeah,
and build.
makes sense. It really
timber
does.
frame
That's
buildings.
another skill.
That's another skill, and it's a skill for some youth who want to go into building trades. Right now, there's a big demand for high-end buildings, high-end homes, and folks want to see the exposed timbers and the wooden pegs in them. And that is something that not everybody knows how to do.
So what you're doing, okay, how do I find you?
You can go to
I mean,
our
I know
website.
you're here, but
Okay.
I mean, how would I find, the River
Sure.
Center?
You can go to our website. It's Schoharie River Center.
And we put that up on the
.org.
screen there, yeah?
We also have a YouTube page because we're also teaching videography and visual storytelling.
So you have a YouTube
We have a YouTube
channel,
page.
and what's it called?
Schoharie River Center.
Okay.
And it has a whole set of videos that we are constantly updating. These are videos that are being done mostly by our youth with
So they're
our
learning that.
instructors. They're learning skills on how to do
And tell
digital
me
media.
how they're learning to make maple syrup.
We also do.
I mean,
maple
I was
syrup making.
astonished when I heard you had maple syrup.
The students work with us. They go out and tap trees with us in usually March, April. They learn how to gather sap. We have a evaporator in a sugar house that we built using a timber frame building workshop.
What an
and they
amazing
learn the
place you
process.
have.
So it's a lot of fun. We also do black smithing, and we have a full black smith shop
A
there.
smithy, yeah.
And we're teaching that. We have two really.
Oh, I've got to get out and
very
see your
talented
place. I really
blacksmiths.
do, because this sounds so, and how do they get there? They go out, what, through 88 or what?
You can go down 88 to Duanesburg
Okay.
and then down 20. You can also go the back way.
Okay.
Over through Rotterdam and back over,
Yeah, okay.
Mariahville Lake. I mean, there is a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You should Google it.
No, I know,
It's pretty
I
good.
am. I'm going to check it
Yeah.
out, because I really would like to see what you're doing, because it sounds like a fabulous educational center that you've done. It's amazing. But just quickly, when the bridge went out, wasn't that the Schoharie River?
That was the Schoharie River. That was
That
back-
was years ago.
That was a long time ago, but that was right where the Schoharie meets the Mohawk River.
Oh,
right
okay,
before
so
that.
there was a conjunction there.
But again, it was, the Schoharie has a very dynamic kind of life, and that's what's nice about it.
I just
is that-
happened to think about that,
Right.
whether that was that connection.
Right.
Well, we want to really encourage people, if you've never, and I had never heard of the Schoharie, and thanks, Ellen, for telling me about it, the Schoharie River Center, and I do want to check you out. Now, when are you open? Are you open every day, or just partially, or what days?
We're open weekends. We are open for hiking every day. If you want to come hike or just get away. But we're also open weekends. We also have a variety of other programs happening, so it's important to probably
So just
check
go to your
our
website and you'll
because
find out.
You'll see the whole list.
I want to thank you so much, John
Thank you.
McKeeby, for
Sure.
being here.
Thank
It's
you.
been a delight to learn a little bit more about the Schoharie River Center, and you've just opened up my world.
Thank you.
Yeah, good. I want to just tell you who's coming on next week, because we got another great lineup. We have the Family and Child Services of Schenectady coming on. We've got Homemade Theater, Musicians of Malik, of course, the Octavo Singers, and the YWCA. We've got a great lineup. Please join us again. I'm Ann Pearl, your producer and host and director of Capital Region Today.